Hi everyone, Mutation here. I wanted to upload this game of Pokemon VGC. I know I usually don't upload VGC onto my channel, but I felt this was a pretty good game to upload because it was against top player James Baek, and I thought it was just an overall pretty solid battle with a lot of honestly pretty exciting things. So I'm just gonna post some commentary over this. Starting with this first turn here, where he leads Snorlax Dragon Ball and I lead Tyranitar Sylveon. This is from his stream, so I will be opposite him at any point. So going into this battle, I was kind of scared of the Snorlax because I brought 3 special attackers in the back, as you'll later see, and Snorlax is such a special tank. So I was pretty scared of it, and I decided to crunch it and Hyper Voice. Figured that'd be a safe play, do a lot of damage to Dragon Ball, or in the case that it Dynamaxed, I could at least chip it for probably over half its health, considering Sylveon's such a beast. But Dragon Ball went and protected here, which makes sense. But that crunch into the Aegislash switch-in was honestly huge, because I was really scared of a close combat from it to take out my Tyranitar, because I figured it could live any attack I hit it with and just crunch me back, and I didn't really want to have to double into it later, especially with a Dragapult looming. I mean, Dragapult is obviously such a dangerous Pokemon. But anyway, so to going into turn 2 here, I figured a pretty similar play was fine, like Hyper Voice and then Crunch into the Dragapult. So we'd knock out the Aegislash, and then Tyranitar would probably be able to knock out the Dragapult as well. I was admittedly a little bit scared about Aegislash maybe outspeeding me. I didn't think it would though, so I figured this was safe. Just because Aegislash doesn't really run a lot of speed most of the time, but of course this being best of 1, you never really know what's going to happen. He Dynamaxes the Dragapult, as you can see here. Makes perfect sense, especially to live a Hyper Voice from Sylveon should it go off here, and proc its weakness policy, which I was pretty much expecting from his team. So we go into this play here. Max Steel Spike into my Sylveon. Definitely took a fair amount of damage, but my Sylveon is pretty physically bulky, so it didn't take too much from that, or at least not a KO, which is honestly good enough. And then I find out that the Aegislash is faster than my Tyranitar, and clicked close combat, which was admittedly pretty frustrating, because Tyranitar wasn't exactly my win condition per se, but it was at least a really good Pokemon to have there. So I'm honestly pretty sad about losing it, but I figured this wasn't out, especially since I KO Aegislash here and do a lot to the Dragapult with Hyper Voice. And so from here, I was definitely kind of wondering what I was going to do, because I had Charizard and Gastrodon in the back, and I definitely didn't want to switch in Charizard, because even after Gigantamaxing it, I felt like like Max Phantasm or Max Wormwind would take it out with ease, so, with the weakness policy boosts. So I ended up bringing in Gastrodon here, as you'll see in just a second. And part of the reason I brought in Gastrodon was because I felt like he would be able to tank pretty much any attack, because my Gastrodon is like fully bulky. It's almost entirely invested in physical defense with bold nature, so plus defense minus attack, and then, or no, it's relaxed, plus defense minus speed, and then it will attack, and then it'll also have a little special defense as well. So I figured a Dynamax from the Gastrodon and a Max Quake into the Dragapult would be good to KO it, especially with the sand damage. But I definitely wasn't sure, because my Gastrodon, like I said, doesn't really have any investment in special attack. So this definitely could have gone either way. But I also thought I would be okay, especially if it KO. This would be fine, just because Incineroar was out in the field, although I was still admittedly a bit worried about Snorlax having Charizard in the back, because of course it's a special attacker and Snorlax can take special attacks just so well. But he fakes out the Gastrodon, which is really good, because of course with Dynamax I can't flinch. I use Quick Attack just to move before the Dragapult, so I can get a little chip damage on it, and he knocks out my Sylveon, which makes sense. Sylveon is obviously such a threatening Pokemon, so I So I definitely would see that, because if he didn't target it, then I would have just had a free Hyper Voice. So I go for the Max Quake here to get Dragapult, and it turns out to be a critical hit, which was pretty huge, considering I did have that Charizard in the back, and Dragapult would outspeed it with ease and probably knock it out. I mean, I could use Protect in that situation, but that would still be a lot of damage onto Charizard, so I was definitely pretty scared. But with this situation here, I figured I was mostly okay, but I definitely needed to target down the Snorlax. The only thing I was really afraid of from Incineroar was Parting Shot, but that wouldn't be too much of a problem. I thought it would be fine. So I go for the Air Slash to Snorlax just to get a little damage on it, and in hopes I could get a flinch, just in case. I didn't know if he was going to go for a Belly Drum or what. He ended up going for the Parting Shot, and then he went for a Yawn, which was honestly pretty infuriating, just because Gastrodon was probably my win condition, and to have it go to sleep in the next turn was definitely a bad news for me. So I figured I needed to either flinch the Snorlax, or flinching the Snorlax was probably my win con here. Because I felt like Incineroar with any like Dark type stuff, so like Darkest Lariat or whatever, wouldn't have been able to KO my Charizard with Sand. But I felt like a combination of like Darkest Lariat from both Pokemon, if he had, or like if his Snorlax had Return or something like that. Actually, Return doesn't exist in this game, so if it had like Double Edge or something like that, he would be able to take me out. So I ended up going for this flinch play here, get the Air Slash. Still does a lot of damage to the Snorlax, but unfortunately that damage just wouldn't be enough. He goes for the Throat Chop and gets that critical hit here, which just mattered so much, because I felt like the Darkest Lariat from a Snorlax, with being non-stab and probably mostly invested in like HP and defense, it wouldn't be enough to KO the Charizard, especially since I was setting the rain here with Gastrodon, so I wouldn't take I wouldn't take sand damage, and B, I probably should have done this before to set the rain, so either my next Max Geyser or my Scalds would be more powerful. But of course Gastrodon here falls asleep, and it's also the last Dynamax turn, so -1 with no -1 special attack, asleep. My Gastrodon was neutered beyond words, so I just didn't really have a way to deal with the Snorlax here. It turned out the Snorlax had Seed Bomb and could knock me out anyway, but in the end it didn't really matter. So good games to James. You're probably not gonna watch this, but it was still a lot of fun to play you on your stream. And yeah, that is about it. I will see all of you on the next video, which will probably be a Smash Opinions video when I decide to decide on something to write about. Anyway, have a good one, everybody. Peace out.